Okay, first I want to remind everybody tonight, tonight is Rosh Chodesh, so don't forget to say Ya'aleh V'Yavi. Okay, finishing up the halacha of sewing or gluing or whatever it is. So you learned if you have a loose button, you're not allowed to pull the thread because that tightens the button. You're not allowed to have adhesive notes that are made to last more than 24 hours. Let's say you put up, the post notes usually are not there to last 24 hours. But if you put up, you glue something to the refrigerator, not magnets. Magnets, according to most, not everybody, magnets, according to most poskim, are allowed. It's not called sewing or whatever, gluing, whatever. But Velcro isn't. But if you have adhesive tapes that you're sticking on something that's going to last more than 24 hours, then that's called a permanent sewing, so to speak, and you wouldn't be allowed to do those things on Shabbos. Therefore, you wouldn't be allowed to take it off either. What? I'm saying those are, if they're made to last 24 hours, then you can't. But if you're doing it for a temporary thing, you could. Okay, the next malacha, which is opposite of Tefer, just we had Ksiva and Mechika, what? I just said. You need to get your hearing checked. Okay, so just like you have Ksiva and Mechika, you have writing and erasing. So you have now, it's sewing, and the opposite is tearing. Now what you're not allowed to sew, you're not allowed to tear. What you're not allowed to tear, you're not allowed to sew. So they're both interconnected. Now what did they do? Sometimes they would have to, there would be holes in the material, whatever, they would have to sew and tear things together in order to sew it. Therefore the Gemara says, the Mishnah, when it speaks about the malach of tearing, it says, Kareya u'menas litfor. You tear it in order to sew it. Then it's biblically forbidden. Now, what?
So, going back one step, I'm just curious. So, as far as the knots and tying a knot, if I put my talis on Shabbat, and I notice that the tzitzit are loose, the bottom knot, the
we spoke about that last week. If the double knot, you're not allowed to tighten that knot.
You can't tighten it.
No, because you're tightening a knot. That's not really sewing. That's more of kosher, of tying. A double knot is tying, not sewing. But it's still forbidden. Okay, next is like this.
No. It speaks about magnet and writing, those things that you press and the thing comes out dark and then you can erase it.
That you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. It's writing and erasing.
Even though
it's not biblical because it's not permanent, but it's still...
It's really magnetic thing that does...
Yeah, but you're still causing... If you turn on a computer, right? Letters come up. Now they're really not letters, they're still a bunch of dots. But you're still not allowed to do it on Shabbos.
But this is electricity, I'm talking about the magnet that without electricity.
It's still, but letters are coming up, so it's rabbinically forbidden because it's temporary writing and erasing. Still rabbinically forbidden. Okay, now, that's biblical law. Rabbinic law is, even if it's tearing, not only in a constructive way. It's tearing in a destructive way. You're also not allowed to do it on Shabbos. Why? Because you might come to tear in a constructive way with the intent of sewing. But the Chachamim did not extend their prohibition for something which is needed for Shabbos, providing that you're tearing it in a destructive fashion, not in a constructive fashion, which is defined like this. Anything that you can't fix by undoing what you did, I'll give you examples in a second, then you wouldn't be allowed to do it for food either. But if you're destroying it, that you can't fix it by sewing it or by gluing it, the way it was originally, that would be allowed if it's something you need on Shabbos. And I'll give you examples. We already started discussing these things. You have a box of cereal or a box of matzah, right? So this is the top, the box, right, of cereal or matzah. So the way it's done is there's flaps, the way that it's made, there's this flap that's glued to each other with a little thing, you pull it up and you separate, you don't destroy the box, you just separate the glued tops together, right? It's obvious, right? Now, because when you separate them, you're not destroying the box. All you have to do is re-glue it. So therefore, that's not called tearing in a destructive fashion. Destructive is when you ruin the piece, the bag or the box, like you cut off the whole top of the box, that you can't just sew it back together or glue it back together. This is made that it's glued on top, right? And now you're ungluing it, but you're not ruining the box. The box is a proper box. And you can fix it by gluing it back together again. So that wouldn't be allowed even for food. Therefore, like we said, you rip apart a potato chip bag like this, that you're not destroying the bag, you're only ungluing it, and you can fix it, you could put it back to its original theme by just gluing it. So that would not be destructive. That you wouldn't be allowed to do on Shabbos. So what you need to do, let's say it's a box of matzah, a box of cereal or whatever, you have to actually cut off the whole top, then you're destroying the box. The problem is you have no, you can put it back together, put it on top with a rubber band, but you're not going to be able to fix it. So that would be allowed on Shabbos. Or, if you cut off the whole box. Or, whatever it is, but you can't just separate the glue things together. That could be fixed by just gluing it back together again. That's not destructive, that the Chachamim allowed. So that applies, let's say, to cereal boxes. What?
The box, you undo it if you don't tear it.
If you don't destroy the box.
As long as you undo it.
Okay, the top is glued on top, the top of the box, right? So normally what you do, you pick up the thing and you separate the top. That you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. No. Because then you're not destroying the box. You're just ungluing it and it can be fixed back to normal by re-gluing it. And then you're back to where you started, so you didn't destroy the box. But if you cut off the whole top of the box,
with a knife,
knife, scissors, with your mouth. If you have a big mouth, what? Literal, not figurative.
It doesn't become a baby then?
No, because in the country it's a broken keli. It's not what it is.
Separating the glue is also a problem.
That is the problem.
cutting it.
What? Talk louder.
You're making a vessel of the box and also separating the glue.
The problem is not making a kli out of the box. The box is also always a keli. What you're doing now is ungluing, tearing, not in a destructive form. So that's not even allowed for food.
If you cut it with a knife that is like a saw, isn't it okay?
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't cut any letters.
You have to make sure there's no letters.
You know what?
No letters that you're cutting. No, it's a very big problem. I mentioned this by the other thing. I don't know why the film companies are allowed to do this. The wines with the corks that you have to undo with a corkscrew. A lot of the kosher companies have letters written on those corks.
Yeah.
There's letters written on the corks.
Yeah.
And then when you're taking it off with the corkscrew, your mom is stripping letters. There's no heter for that in Shabbos. I don't know why they even allow them to make wine like that. People drink wine on Shabbos. Huh? Not on the foil. On the cork itself. I've seen it myself. There's letters on the cork.
That's all packaging.
Yeah. Huh?
That can be true for all packaging.
And in fact, sometimes you have, there's aluminum foil colored on top of the corkscrew, right? And you're supposed to take that off, and then, so sometimes what people do, they'll take the corkscrew and go through the aluminum foil straight into the cork. They won't take off the aluminum foil first.
Right.
Okay? They're too lazy.
Like me.
But then if there's letters on that top, your mom is cutting letters in Shabbos, which you're not allowed to do even for food.
So you have to cut this around.
You have to cut it off first with those things, that they have to cut it off for a scissors or a knife. And then you can cut, but if the cork itself has letters on it, it's a big problem. So if you know the cork and you want to drink the wine, and you know the cork has letters on it, you have to open it before Shabbos. What?
You have like a yogurt or hummus and it has the plastic seal on
That's not tearing it.
it. Yeah, but is that separating glue or is that closed with heat or?
No, it's closed with heat, and you're not tearing that from anything. You just open, that you're allowed to open. Because it's not what?
There's a type of corkscrew that it's like a needle at the end. You stick the needle in there and you
pump air in it and it comes out. Is that allowed pumping air into a bottle?
I'm repeating the question because people always complain they don't hear the questions. Are you allowed to pump air into there's a corkscrew opener, you pump air into it and then it pushes it? Yes, you're allowed to. Again, if there's no letters that you're cutting.
You're allowed to pump air in it?
Are you allowed to blow? Are you allowed to blow on Shabbos? You're pumping air into whatever.
You can pump air in a balloon? That's making...
No, because now you're making a balloon. Here you're not making anything, you're just doing it in a way that...
How about pumping air into it for preservation? Is there a special gas you put in to preserve it?
You know, people that are heavy smokers in Bnei Brak, this is what I was told, they didn't see it. Before Shabbos, they smoke cigarettes and they blow it into a bottle. And they make a bottle full of don't look at me, that's what they do. They put tons of smoke, you know, before Shabbos they smoke a few packs and they blow the smoke straight into, then they close it up tight, and then on Shabbos go, yeah. That's what I was told by serious people, not joking. No, Bnei Brak they do it. Bnei Brak they do it. That's what somebody told me. I don't know. I told you I was not. I can't say I was never in Bnei Brak. I was, but I never saw people do it for Shabbos. But this is what I was told. It's not halachically. There's nothing wrong with that.
Except for what?
Except for health. What?
They just kill themselves.
Bottle doesn't make sense, it has to go into a balloon. The bottle is all full of air, so no matter what you do, it's going to go in 20%.
You know what? There's an expression in Yiddish, akasha famaisa. You can't ask a question on a story. This is what happened. You have a question? Okay, you have a question. Okay, now, okay, so cardboard boxes, we said you can't unglue the top of the box. Cardboard cartons, also you can't peel aside the... Now, what happens now if you have a bottle, like we mentioned this then also, you have a bottle cap. Now, if you unscrew it, the whole cap comes off, that's not an issue. That's allowed. But sometimes you have bottle caps, mashka caps, or other things, when you undo the cap, when you screw it, there's a ring left at the bottom. So there are many opinions hold you're not allowed to do it. Other opinions hold you are allowed to, and I said that we hold you are allowed to do that on Shabbos, even though the ring is not going to be, the ring is going to stay there, it's not an issue. Okay, if it has a ring seal, then you have another issue. A lot of times, bottles, they're stamped. You know, a lot of times bottles or containers that are called orange juice containers that have these caps around it, they have a stamp date on it. Now sometimes when you turn it off, the writing is between the bottom thing that stays on it and the top ring that the top bottle cap that you're removing. The problem is then you're ripping letters. So when you open a bottle that has it stamps, you know, they stamp the date or whatever it is they stamp on the bottle cap, you have to make sure that when you're opening it, you're not tearing any letters that might be posted.
Is that different than stamping the side of the book?
No, those letters, here you're not cutting anything. All you're doing is the letters are here. You're just separating them or bringing them back together. In that case, you're ripping letters. The letters, there's letters written. You can't just rip letters.
It's
Here,
ink, right?
yeah, the stamp made out of ink. Usually blue ink. What?
Numbers are okay.
No. Also, you can't tear numbers either. Numbers are letters. It's all the symbols. Symbols, letters, numbers are all the same thing. With writing, erasing, tearing. Again, there's two malachas. There's a malach of tearing, and there's a malach of erasing. Now, if somebody tears something that has letters on it, they're getting two things. They're tearing and they're erasing. Both are rabbinically forbidden. Ring seals attached. Okay, you can open them the way we hold. Plastic containers. Okay, peel off seals. Okay, what happens give you an example. You have on a fruit, a lot of times an apple or banana, it doesn't matter. But you have an apple that has those seals, those little adhesive stickers on them. Those you're allowed to take off on Shabbos. It's not, it's even better than the diapers. You're not tearing anything. You have to make sure not to tear the letters when you take it off. But also you have to be careful. What happens, sometimes you have an orange that they stamp letters on the orange itself. Sometimes you see letters stamped onto the orange. So then if you're removing the peel of the orange, you have to make sure that when you cut it, you're not cutting the letters. Because again, then you're cutting letters. It's not what?
So stickers on Shabbos,
What type of stickers?
like kids for children. You can't-
Stickers on Shabbos, they're makel. Adults, they say, shouldn't play with stickers on Shabbos. I mean, adults shouldn't play with stickers a whole week either. I mean, mature.
And then on the fruit, it's fine because same thing? Or
It's
because-
made to take off, and it's not there permanently. It's there that you're going to take it off. It's not there, and you're not doing anything. So that you would be allowed to do. Okay. Machat Shino Zra Ma'aseh Ma'ameh V'Mayim Kim Shivla Gal Teira V'Chanan Mekashe Med Datu Gerbaru Zak Sofi Gechebel